All right, happy Friday, Cowboys. Here is our last video before you take your test on Tuesday. So let's get into it. It says the graph of the function f consisting of 3 line segments and a quarter of a circle is shown above. Let g be the function defined by this. So we talked about this on the video I sent out with the assignment yesterday, that g is defined as the area under the f curve, always starting at 1. So I'm just going to think about that here. And then it says for part A, find the average rate of change of g. Okay, so thinking about g values from -5 to 5. So average rate of change means change in g divided by change in x. Okay, so g of 5 minus g of -5 all over 5 minus -5. And believe it or not, we got a point just for understanding that on the scoring rubric. So that was nice. So we're going to have to split up 2 definite integrals to figure out the values of each of these. So let's start with g of -5 first. So g of -5 is the definite integral starting at 1 going to -5 of f of t dt. And right away I'm going to go ahead and flip that. And make it negative. Okay, so I'm starting here, going to -5. So that's 1, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so all of that area. And so when I look at that area, I can see that I've got 2 little triangles and a semicircle. I'm going to keep the negative out in front. So I've got negative here. The triangle is 1/2 times the base length of 3 times the height of 4. All right. And then I'm going to add to that. Here we've got a quarter of a circle. The radius of this circle is a length of 2. So that's going to be pi times the, pi times the radius of 2 squared all over 4. Plus this little piece here, 1/2 base times height. Okay, so 1/2 times the base of 1 times the height of 2. And then the last thing that we need to think about all of these areas is that all of them are underneath the x-axis. So all of these values would be a negative value. So I'm going to go back and do that now. Okay, because everything underneath the x-axis is negative area. So now I'm going to start simplifying. See what can be simplified here. That just divides to 1 here. So let's clean this up. I've got -6 minus pi minus, let's see, this cancels, right? -1. So that is -7 minus pi, or just 7 plus pi. This was the harder one for a lot of people when I scored it. The idea that you are moving backwards or that you have to flip the definite integral limits switches and makes it negative, and the fact that all of the areas underneath the x-axis also means you have a negative value. So it should be 7 plus pi to get the final answer here. All right, so now let's do g of 5. I'm going to work up here. So g of 5 starts at 1 and goes to 5. The 2 triangle areas there, from 1 to 5 of f of t dt. Here we've got a triangle, 1/2, base of 2, height of 4. And then another rectangle, which is an area of 8, I can see very quickly. So that's 12. So now we have g of 5 and g of -5, so let's plug it back in. 5 minus -5 here in the denominator is going to be 10. G of 5 is 12. I'm going to subtract the value from g of -5, which is 7 plus pi. We can distribute that negative sign. 12 minus 7 minus pi over 10 is 5 minus pi over 10. Average rate of change. Okay, most people that started this correctly, as long as you had set up the difference quotient and knew to use definite integrals here to find the area under the curve for g of 5 and g of -5, got at least 2 out of 3 points on the rubric. Only a few of us missed that third point because of the plus minus issues.